And third point, I think, which is probably the most important point, and a point that will most likely make a major difference in many foreign workers who go to Australia, is that they have permanent residency pathway, right? So Australia has always had a permanent residency pathway under the TSS visa, but basically they have the Australian government have given a shorter pathway to permanent residency under this new stream for aged care workers. So basically, it means that they want people to stay in Australia and support the sector, right? Now, clearly, if you do get permanent residency in Australia, I mean, you can work in any sector you want. I mean, if you're a nurse, then maybe you want to go and get your registration as a nurse in Australia. If you're a doctor, you probably go doctoring, go work at a hospital, right? But I think the main goal that the Australian government is trying to do is that, you know, work in Australia for a short period of time and obtain your permanent residency. Short period doesn't mean months, right? We're talking about years, but get your permanent residency and hopefully you'll stay in the aged care sector. Yeah. Another change that shows positively, I suppose, to that the government is accelerating the support for this sector is a wage increase for the aged care workers, right? So basically early this year, I think if I remember correctly, the Fair Works Commission's decision in aged care workers covered by a specific award will receive a 50% increase, right? And in this is more the area of the providers and the Fair Work Commission side. So I'm not exactly sure about the integral steps that it takes to obtain. But from my understanding is that most personnel who are aged care workers in Australia do go under the category of these awards, and they will be obtaining a 15% wage increase. And if you calculate that by minimum wage in Australia, right, we're talking about 7,500, approximately 7,500 Australian dollars. So make this basically means that your salary in Australia will approximately be around a little less than 60,000 Australian dollars, right? So I'm not quite sure how much that is in chat or in Singapore. What was I forgot the Singaporean currency, but yes, it's around 60,000 Australian dollars, right? Okay, so but looking ahead, I mean, even if that, this is an early kind of area that the government is cranking cranking the gas, right? So basically, it means that I think the aged care sector is expected to get a lot of reforms, positive reforms, right? To improve the quality and the kind of interest in the sector, right? So if you're working in Australia as an aged care worker, I expect that there will be many positive developments that will be made for you, yeah, in the future. So I think that's one area to keep an eye on, right? So what we can provide, right? So what the procedure to go to Australia will be, right? So this we have there's two possible methods or ways to go to Australia, right? I think I showed you before the condition one and condition the two different possibilities for the condition one. So we have the work experience model and we also have the academic model, right? Okay. Yeah. I just heard someone. Is someone trying to chime in? Okay. Can I continue? All right, I might continue. All right. So basically work experience model. How does it go? So basically you will need IELTS 500 and above, right? So you'll need to study your IELTS IELTS English, study to obtain the 500 plus IELTS score, right? You also need work experience. It's written 12 months here, but I cannot say it's just 12 months. Obviously, it's going to be based on where you worked, what you did, who the supervisors were, what kind of conditions were kind of there at the area that the place that you're working at, but a minimum of 12 months work experience, right? For the IELTS, you'll take the exam and try and obtain IELTS 5.0, right? For the work experience, you'll need to do a skills assessment, right? And what a skills assessment is this is not an exam, right? This is actually just assessing if you have the skill sets that meet the Australian standards. Now, this is provided by the Nursing and Midwifery Association in Australia. So we'll need to make show a lot of documentation, a lot of proof, a lot of references from your supervisors, from the company that you work, what you did, how much you were paid, all these kind of documentations, and this will be provided to the association for assessment. If you obtain an okay from the association, and if you obtain IELTS score 5.0 plus, then you have met the basic criteria, right? Now, at that point, you'll need to do an interview with the company, right? And if the company sees you as a sufficient person to work in the company, then you will go into the visa application process. Now, the visa application process will be based on all the documentations that we provide and the proof that we provide. And once that visa application goes through, then you'll be on your way to Australia. All right. So that is the work experience model. Now, this I just want to make sure that I say this again. It's the minimum is 12 months, right? But that doesn't mean that you have met the requirements after working 12 months. We need to assess where you're working, how you're working, who you're working with, right? And so each person might have different situations. If one person goes through in a similar situation, it doesn't mean that you'll go through, right? If your friend goes through, it doesn't mean that you'll go through. So it really needs to be dissected and see how and what you did during the time you're working as an aged care worker. All right. Now, sorry, I think my screen has frozen. Okay, I think I'm back. All right, concerning the aged care academic model, right? So, so this is a little bit more straightforward in a sense, right? So, IELTS training, same as before, and AQF3 individual support units, right? So now this, as we have written AQF3 here, it can be an equivalent course, right? So if you have already obtained a qualification, we can assess to see if that qualification is equivalent to AQF3, right? So when the skills assessments are done, basically it means that the assessors, right, at the association, they'll see and observe if the qualification that you have meets the standards of the AQF3, right? So, but obviously it's going to cost money to do the skills assessment. Therefore, my company and also Apostle Med will actually do an evaluation to see if you actually meet the standards already. If not, then there needs to be some kind of supplemental education, or it's better to actually take a course that is covered by AQF3 individual support, right? And the rest is the same. Once your skill assessment passes, company interview, pass visa application and employment, right? Yeah.